thank you so much for joining me today for our restorative practice. My name is Amber, and all you'll need today, maybe 2 blankets or 2 towels. If you have a bolster, please grab one, or a thicker, fuller pillow, maybe from your couch or a chair, and then a couple of blocks. Our first shape that we are going to do today is going to be a constructive resting pose. And I want to invite you to get as comfy as you want. And that means padding underneath you on the floor. Especially if you're not already resting on a carpet or something, it would be nice to have a little bit of extra padding. We're going to take a block and rest it down on the second height, and rest your thicker pillow or bolster on there. If you need a little extra support, actually just do one, because we are going to use one of the blocks or books a little bit later on. So once you get comfy, or once you get your little space set up here, we want to have our booty right up against our bolster. And once you lay back, and if you feel a little tension in the low back around the lumbar spine, you may like to rest a blanket or a towel underneath your booty there to kind of lift yourself up so there's not such a large gap here. And many of you know this. And then you're just going to rest back. And the first thing you're going to do in this particular shape is draw the feet out and then rest the knees together. And this is called constructive resting pose. And then from here, I invite you to find a nice comfy space for your arms. And you can even, if you have an extra blanket or towel, you can put your arms on top of that just to kind of rest yourself together, or let yourself rest. And then the knees, so the legs shouldn't feel like they're doing any work. So if you need to walk the toes a little bit farther out, or bring the feet in a little bit closer, it's going to just depend on how your body feels in this particular shape. So just take a moment, get any fidgeting out, make sure your back feels good, arms are comfortable, your head is comfortable. And then once you are able to kind of relax and settle in, take a couple of deep breaths. You can take your gaze to the ceiling, or you can close your eyes. I'm sure some of you are already there. Breathing in deeply a few times, letting the breath start from the inside and just expand through the chest and the belly. And then really give that exhale a good squeeze as you release the breath. Perhaps thoughts start to move into the mind, and this is a wonderful opportunity for you to tell them, hey, I see you, I hear you, but I'm a little busy right now. I'd like to take some time for myself, so please come back a little bit later on. I promise I won't forget you. And then give yourself absolute permission to be in your practice for the next little while. And just let yourself settle in. Start to notice with the exhales what parts of your body might be resting gently against your bolster or the mat or a blanket. And just connect, maybe starting with the back of the skull. And then as you exhale, let that feeling move to the back of the shoulders, at the base of the neck. Then maybe you move to the arms and you feel the weight in the arms, letting the fingertips be nice and soft. And then work your way down your spine, connecting at the shoulder blades, the back of the ribs, all the way down to the base of the spine and the tailbone. And then if you want, you can stop and take a couple of breaths here, drawing the breath up from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And releasing it all the way back down to the tailbone. Relaxing through the hips, the thighs, letting any tension release in the legs if you still feel you're holding your knees towards one another. And then let that energy flow down the calves and the shins to the heels and the sole of the foot, and then make that final connection to the earth, grounding down. And allow yourself to feel that grounded feeling. Allow yourself to feel support and love. Even if at this time it feels that it's just coming from yourself. You know, sometimes it's all that we need. We just need to be here for ourselves. And yoga makes this incredible opportunity happen for us. And when we find this space, it is to our best advantage to take that space and utilize it and accept it. Continue to let yourself drop farther and farther down, grounding to the mat and the floor. Letting the breath play softly with the rise and the fall of the chest. Settling in. So very slowly begin to heel toe the feet back into the center. Slowly rooting the soles of the feet into the earth a little ways out from your hips. And then all you are going to do is grab a block or a book. And you may not need this if you're already resting up on a high blanket. And you're going to lift your hips and you're going to insert that book or that block right underneath your hips. Right, not at the low back, but kind of underneath your booty. And then you're going to extend the legs out. And then rest here. Now, if you find that extending the legs out feels like it puts a little pressure on your knees, you can sit up for a second and see if you can put a blanket, or if you happen to have another bolster or cushion, just something underneath the knees to give them a gentle support. And then if you feel you need to move your block or book around, by all means, go ahead and do so. Again, I want you to be super comfortable. So once you find this space, maybe you'd like to take your hands and rest them on your belly. You can rest one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart space. Or any place that is calling to you. I mean, if you want to give yourself a little hug, wrap your arms around the front of your body, you can do that. Whatever feels good. Just catching this, this extra sense of connection here. And then as you rest back, closing the eyes again and relaxing through the shoulders and the neck. You can kind of rock the neck from side to side if you want. And then while you find this connection with the breath and the body, maybe you feel the belly and the chest rising and falling as you let yourself relax with each exhale. And take a moment to quiet the mind and listen to the body and see if it has any messages for you. Perhaps it comes in thought form, or maybe you feel a sensation in the body. And try your best to be open, to listen, and maybe you don't feel or hear anything, and that is totally fine. We're just exploring a little bit. As we quiet down and have this space, this opportunity to listen and feel without judgment. Finding softness in the gaze, in the expression. Begin to draw a deeper breath. You can start to move a little in the fingers and the toes. When you're ready, you're going to draw those feet back to the floor, bending through the knees, placing the soles of the feet down and lifting up the hips. drawing out whatever you have underneath your bottom. Relaxing down gently, and you're going to slowly just rotate to one side and find yourself back into a seated position. And so we're going to take our bolster and rest it to the side. We're going to move into a little twist here. And you can take a block or a book or a blanket and rest it where your head would lay. And so what I'm looking for here is a little kind of space, a little place where you can rest on your side and your arm can outstretch, and then you can rest your head so we're not crunching into the shoulder. And then you're going to come up onto your hip and then rest the leg over, the opposite leg, the upper leg. And I'm going to give you an option here. You can rest here cozily if you'd like. Or if you would like to take a gentle twist, just draw that bottom rib towards your bolster and then relax your arm back and down, drawing the upper shoulder back as well. And then make any adjustments that will help this be a little bit more softer for you. And then when you get yourself settled in, making sure that you have enough padding underneath your hip, underneath your shoulder, your head feels good, and that your upper leg is very relaxed. Go ahead and close your eyes. Find your breath. And then with each exhale, begin to release any tension and any thoughts. Letting your breath lull you into a relaxed state. Softening through the space between the eyes. The fingertips and the toes. Softly begin to move the fingers and the toes. Deepening the breath. Releasing the upper leg down so the legs kind of come together. And then slowly roll yourself back to center. And before we move to the other side, we're going to reset the spine a little bit. But first, go ahead and draw the knees in and just take a gentle rock from side to side. And then go ahead and rock yourself into a seat. Grab your blocks or books. Set them somewhere, not all the way down to the end of the mat, but maybe about 3/4 of the way down, and bring them maybe about a foot apart from each other. And then all you're going to do is take that bolster or stiffer pillow, rest it on top of there, and then scoot yourself down so your calves rest on the bolster here. You're seeing my undergarments. Well, not my undergarments. The bolster's undergarments. My unmentionables. Go ahead and rest the legs down. And again, you can pad underneath your low back here. Make sure that you've got something to support underneath the neck if you feel you need it. And then so we're just allowing this, the space in front of the thighs to relax. So maybe widen the legs, let the toes rest to the side, make sure there's no pressure in the knees whatsoever. And then maybe open up the arms nice and wide and close the eyes if you're ready to, or gaze softly at the ceiling. These kind of positions can sometimes feel a little vulnerable, and if you feel like that, you are more than welcome to put a blanket over you. A little bit of weight sometimes helps with that. Adds a little bit of protection, if you will. Remember, anything so you are comfortable. Maybe breathing a few times deeply. Expanding with each breath, pulling in that prana, that breath, that life force. And then releasing anything that doesn't serve you in your moment, right here, right now. Perhaps pulling in a mantra, if you'd like, as you breathe in, maybe something on the lines of, I am loved, I am well taken care of, I am seen, I am heard. Picking an affirmation that resonates with you. And if you don't feel like an affirmation fits at this moment, then just find stillness. And listen to what your body and your thoughts need. Remembering that if thoughts start to move in, making your mind feel busier or more alive than you'd like, come back to your breath. Focus on the inhale and the exhale. Perhaps the tip of the nose. The rise and the fall of the belly. to bring attention to the breath. Letting it fill the lungs. Getting a little playful exploration with the fingers and the toes. And then draw those knees into center. Hug them in. Find a gentle rock from side to side. And then again, you're going to roll to one side. Draw yourself back up into a seated position. And we're going to scooch that bolster to the opposite side. You're going to do the block or a blanket where your head might rest, so you have that space for your shoulder. And then go ahead and roll onto that opposite hip. Let the arm extend and let the upper leg rest on top of the bolster, and if it calls to you to move into a twist, please feel free to do so. And then once you find that little sacred space that feels so good, just find your breath. Close the eyes. And allow yourself that sweet connection of the breath and the body to the earth that supports you. Seek out any tension and soften it with the breath. Slowly begin to find some movement, deepening the breath. Rolling back to your center, and go ahead and hug those knees in for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, come into a seated position, and we're going to put our bolster exactly where we began. So setting it up a little bit higher in the back. And then this time, we're going to scoot our booties up nice and close. But when you rest back, you're going to find your Supta Baddha Konasana, so your cobbler's pose, soles of the feet together. But what I would really like is for you to find some support underneath the knees. So a blanket or blocks, more pillows, whatever you have. See if you can find a little support to rest the knees on. And then go ahead and find that space again to breathe. Allowing the legs to just relax open. Finding a good place for the arms. And softening the breath. Relaxing the space around the eyes and releasing the tongue and just letting it roll or sink back. Softening through the jaw and the throat. Relaxing through the collarbones. The upper arms, the lower arms, and the hands. Feeling yourself with each exhale become closer and closer to what supports you on your backside. Feeling that loving support. And at this time, you may stay where you are with the legs in cobbler's pose. Or you can choose to stay here a little while longer and then relax the legs out. Or you may relax the legs out now if you'd like. And if you feel that you need a blanket to support under the knees, please feel free to make any adjustments that you might need to. But if you are fine where you are, then just allow yourself to stay there and sink deeper into your relaxation. Begin to draw in a deeper breath. Wiggling the fingers and the toes. When you're ready to begin to find a little movement, you can roll to one side, taking a couple of breaths. And then bring yourself into an upright seated position, whatever feels right to you. Please bring your hands to your heart space in Anjali Mudra. With so much gratitude for our practice today together. Thank you so much for being present, not only for this class, but mostly for yourself. The more we are able to kind of move and dive a little deeper into our self-care, the easier it will be to move out into the world and not only take care of others, but just holding space in such a tender time. The light in me honors the very bright light in each and every one of you. Namaste.